Good Friday to you, everybody in COM 702. Welcome to the beginning of the spring semester. How's everybody doing? Huh? You doing all right? Let's get a little coffee here to start things off. Mm. And happy I'd hike that new coffee mug from my wife for Christmas. Thank you very much to her. All right, hey, good to see you. Um Spring 2023. That's got a weird ring to it, doesn't it? 2023. I hope that you had a blessed and restful Christmas tide. That is the break. It is Friday. Today's is the traditional celebration of Epiphany. That is when the wise men found the Christ child. And it traditionally marks the end of the Christmas tide season. So we're around now on the backside of it and truly into a new year. And I hope that you're looking forward to this semester as I am. I wanted to make this short video to introduce myself to you. My name is Dr. Jeff Gardner, and I will be co-teaching, team teaching this course with Dr. Brown. Now, if you haven't, go click over into Blackboard, watch his introductory video. He does a great job in breaking down the syllabus and what it is that you're going to be doing this semester by way of assignment. So first thing that you need to do, if you haven't done so already, is go over to Blackboard, download and print out the syllabus. I find, in my experience teaching here at Regent, that if I had to condense it down to the one thing that seems to trip most people up, put them in a spot mid or usually towards the end of the semester that they didn't know or they didn't want to be, that is, there's something that was due or something that was scheduled that just slipped past the radar. Download the syllabus, print it out, and then write that stuff down. Whatever form of calendar you use. I personally like the written planners. This is mine for 2023. I've just filled it all out. I'm a very tactile person. I like pens and papers, and I still handwrite notes to people by way of a communication tactic. I recommend that highly. It really takes people off guard. Like, oh wow, hey, whatever works for you. If you like it, put it on your Google Calendar, your iPhone, your Android, written down. Print the syllabus out and put into your planner the major contact points, due dates, your research paper, your take-home quizzes, your labs, your final exams for the class. Review that schedule, and this, is a good idea for all of your classes. Review that schedule frequently. Because, hey, you're busy. Many of you are working. You have families, you have children, you have things that you're trying to take care of, and you're balancing a lot. Okay, be good to yourself as a doctoral candidate and get all of that scheduled so you don't get any surprises. All right, so that's some general advice that I want to pass on to you for this class. Actually, again, for any class that you're taking at Regent, in the first week, you're going to be given a quiz. Don't worry, it's not a quiz that you can study for. In fact, that you even need to study for. It'll be based on the syllabus. So again, download the syllabus and take a look at it. It's really a demonstration of class participation. Believe it or not, there are people out there, none of us here, of course, who will sign up for online classes, take federal money for said classes, drop said classes, and never actually take the classes, but keep the money. Shocking. Yeah, I know. So to curb that a wee bit, the university requires that we document who is and who is not participating during the first week of class. So you must take the syllabus quiz. It's a little short 4 or 5 question quiz based on the syllabus. And, you can even sit there with the syllabus and take it. You can take it as many times as you'll like. It's not going to take you more than once. And then you hit enter. And that tells us that you're here, you're registered, you're participating. Okay, so watch for that. It won't be available until Monday. That's just the way it goes. Okay, so get the syllabus, watch for the quiz, watch Dr. Brown's video to get a sense of what you're going to be doing in this course. I wanted to communicate, though, I want to pick up on one of the things that Dr. Brown touched on, and that is the trepidation that some people have when they approach quantitative research. And I want to say a couple of things to you that I hope will allay that trepidation, that is, get rid of it. And I want to make a suggestion to you as to why it is you should be very interested in quantitative research, even if, you don't go on to be a quantitative researcher yourself. Okay? So first of all, as Dr. Brown points out, many people shy away from quantitative research because they see it as math and they have a math phobia. Maybe they had a bad math experience and they just think, and now at a doctoral level, I don't need this. Okay, and that's absolutely true. I think another factor that we encounter, especially in our field, is that intuitively, I believe, most people that enter into communication studies are qualitative thinkers by disposition. That is, that we think about communication as this verbal exchange, and I'm not saying that it's not, and therefore we think about investigating it from that perspective, and we don't necessarily think about investigating it from a numeric perspective, that is counting up how many times somebody says that they do something or something is actually done, and then counting up how many times something else happens, and then establishing a mathematical connection between them to try to determine causation. I don't think as communicators that's our intuitive disposition. That's just my hunch. Do I have hard data on this? No. But I think I'm correct in my hunch. Okay, so you've got this sort of natural disposition to not think about communication as something that you can analyze mathematically. I think one of the reasons that persists in our mind is that as communicators, I believe, and again, this is my hunch, that we, those who study the business, and especially the populace at large, we are not aware of how similar in behavior we can be. In fact, I believe that as communicators, we often assume that our experience is so unique, and there are theories which I regard very little concerning this, saying that, well, all communication is a entirely unique individualistic experience, and therefore analyzing the nature and the direction of a trend can happen from a wholly individualistic experience. It's sometimes referred to as autoethnography. I don't believe that it's true, and I say this because it factually, in terms of evidentiary, it just doesn't hold up to scrutiny. We actually do behave very similarly, and we do, by way of pattern, both in terms of repetitious pattern as individuals and repetition of repetitious pattern as groups, act in similar ways. We're not aware of that. See, and in that respect, our lack of awareness and then our sort of can you really quantify this? That's a built-in researcher bias. I want you to, in this semester, I want you to think about setting that aside. Okay, just let's take it as a leap of faith that by way of human behavior, we may act more similarly to one another. We may, in fact, repeat patterns in our own behavior, and then collectively we repeat the pattern of the pattern more than we're aware of. Just approach the class with that as a possibility. Okay? And if you do, then the whys and wherefores, why do we do this and what's it for, of quantitative research are going to make a lot more sense to you. The justification for it. Now, as Dr. Brown points out, quantitative research is the dominant research within the social sciences, and communication is a member of the social sciences. So to get to the doctoral level, to understand what's going on, and even if you go on and you're a qualitative researcher through and through for the rest of your life, you do things historiographically or you look at content analysis, okay, fine. But you're going to want to have the skills that will allow you to evaluate other people's works and resources that you may want to use for your own work, and to make a judgment call as to, as we used to say, what's beef and what's baloney, or what's truth and what's, the other thing, BS. You want to have that skill. So that's another reason you should be very interested in this course. That is, first, there are perhaps more patterns than our bias is aware of. Secondly, you're going to want to have these skills even if you don't become a quantitative researcher. And third, and perhaps this one is, in terms of your future and what you go on to do, is most important. All right. And I want to be very careful about how you understand what I'm about to say. Across the broader population, right? Not necessarily within our field of communication, because some of you will go on to academic positions. The majority of you will not, all right, because you're interested in other things and there just aren't that many academic positions. Okay. So outside of the social sciences, outside of the academic world, things expressed with numbers, this is something that's hardwired into people's heads, are regarded as truer than things that don't have numbers. Now, this is unfortunate. That is this disposition. I believe it's unfortunate, because there's nothing more true or less true about something that's stated with a numerical foundation than stated with something that comes through linguistic, verbal. I mean, yes, of course, when you're talking about numbers, you're using words, but you understand what I mean. Okay. I mean, there's an old saying that statistics is liar's math, that is, can be used to misrepresent the truth numerically. Absolutely true. But since most people that you will encounter do not understand how basic statistics work, the relationship of the process to the final product, they view statistical statements and demonstrations as truer. And in point, depending on what you're doing and to whom you're speaking, they look at statistics as almost magic. And I'm not trying to be critical and dismissive of people's general understanding of this, that, or the other. That's not my point. I'm simply telling you the operations of public perception when it comes to communication. Now, you might be thinking, okay, fabulous. What does this have to do with anything that I would be interested in this class? Consider what we're doing here at Regent. All right. We're here to support one another. And that's why I'm here and Dr. Brown is here, and why they divide the class in half. We've got almost 20 people for each of us, is to give you the necessary attention that you need to help you to come to understand this process or whatever the topic is for the class, for the purpose of turning you into or helping you become even stronger of a communicator. We have a mission here at Regent. We're out to create a Christian cohort of communicators ready to change the world. And I don't have to digress, but there are many places in the world where there's much need of change. Communication is at the heart of it. So To come out of here as a strong communicator, you need to understand how to use this tool, and you need to understand how the use of this tool is regarded by the populace at large, where many of you will end up working as communicators. Now, you might be saying, so, well, what are you getting at there, Dr. Gardner? Are you saying that I should learn quantitative methodology so I can fool people into thinking that my position is true and my conclusions are solid? No, that's manipulation. And again, I want you to think about what we're doing. The difference between communication and manipulation is that in communication, you want what's good for you. You want to be understood. You want to be successful. You want to be employed. Okay. But equally, you want what's good for the person with whom you're communicating, whether that's a singular individual or an entire group. You want their good as much as you want your good. In manipulation, someone does what she does for their good. And what happens to the individual doesn't concern them. You might equate it, the difference might be the difference between a surgeon and a robber. Both are going to slice you open, stick you, stab you with something sharp and take your money. In the case of the surgeon, she wants her money. Absolutely. She's interested in what interests her, but she wants your appendix out and for you to be well. She is interested in what's good for you, not just what's good for her. In the case of the robber, he doesn't care what happens to you when he cuts you open and takes your money. Do you see the difference? So we're here to become world-changing communicators, not manipulators. And at the heart of being an effective communicator is understanding how the person or persons, whether you're talking to an individual or a whole room full or a whole nation full or a whole world full of people, how they receive the message. What do they understand? And what types of communications helps persuade them? That's where quantitative research comes in. Now, here's the good news and the opportunity and the challenge. Let's put it that way. To this class, as Dr. Brown points out, we cannot cover all of the quantitative tests that are out there. We're going to cover only, I think, 8, 12, in case the biggies. The challenge is some of them are going to seem very complicated to you if you don't have any background. I don't want you to be anxious. You can spend time with me or with Dr. Brown through email, even on the phone, to try to help you wrap your head around the concepts if that's something that you need. Okay. So you're going to be grappling with concepts that may or may not make a lot of sense. That's the challenge to you. But here's the opportunity. Some of the most penetrating and really important quantitative research is done with very simple and straightforward tests that you'll have a competency in within 2 to 3 weeks, 2 weeks. And they're really not hard. I mean, tests that are just as simple as comparing the average of one thing to the average of another. One we call it the mean. If you draw like a graph where the line is in the middle, comparing this mean to that mean, call it a t-test. Very, very simple. And what we're after, what we're looking for, what we're focused on, what we're obsessed, we're in the hunt for, is causation. Does this thing have any relationship to causing that thing? Because remember this important motto for quantitative research. Correlation does not equal causation. Let's put that into simpler English. Just because two things happen at the same time or in proximity to one another does not mean that the one causes the other. Let me give you an example. I have right here a magical rock. This is a piece of Mount Kilimanjaro that I brought back when I was climbing around its base some years ago, and I didn't know it at the time, but it has magical powers. Okay, when I place this in my coat pocket and leave my house, the mere presence of this rock absolutely drives away bears. Whenever I carry this rock, I see absolutely zero bears wandering through my neighborhood. So each time I have this rock, there are no bears on my walks with my dogs throughout my neighborhood. Okay. Now, by this time, I mean, you should be saying, yeah, wait a minute, what? Exactly. Just because correlation, I happen to be carrying a rock, and this is actually a rock from Mount Kilimanjaro, by the way. I didn't make that part up. And I don't see bears, and I also didn't make that part up because I live in a city in which there are no bears. All right, doesn't mean that there's a causation between my carrying this rock and no bears. It's just a correlation. Okay, it just happened at the same time. The rock in my pocket and not seeing any bears. Correlation is not causation. We're obsessed. We're going to be obsessed. You're going to learn to be obsessed with determining causation, because ultimately, as communicators, that's what we want to get at. Why do people do what they do, and what causes it? And if you can crack those two nuts in whatever field and wherever you decide to go with your degree from Regent, you will do very, very well. And keep those two things in mind, okay? Why do people do what they do? And we spend a lot of time with that in the theory class. Why do they do what they do? And what causes it? All right, explanation, causation. And that's really what it boils down to, okay? So if you can keep those in mind as you move ahead, as you do the labs, as you do your research paper, as you take your final exam, this is you might be thinking, why am I doing this? What's this for? That's what it's for, is to turn you into an absolutely sharp, brilliant communicator. Okay? So I'm looking forward to this semester with you. I really enjoy teaching this class with Dr. Brown. It as classes tend to, it goes quickly. There's a lot coming at you every week. So make sure that you stay up on the readings, you keep up on the readings, and you keep up on the labs, because the concepts that we're going to be covering tend to build one upon another. Okay, so you don't want to get behind. If you find yourself at a point where things look murky and fuzzy and you just do not understand, reach out to us. Send me an email. I think my phone number is on the syllabus. I'll have to double check. All right, but you can contact me during my office hours, or even text me directly. Now, when you do, please introduce yourself. Say, hi, I'm so and so, and tell me that this is from Quantitative Methods. That is from COM 702. And the reason for that is it's not that I, don't want to pay attention to you as a person, and I'm not sort of categorizing you as a product, someone from this class. But Dr. Brown and I have a number of students that we're teaching in some very different classes throughout the semester. And that just sort of helps. That's a communication that helps me. It helps my brain go click, 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 click. Oh, yes, I know this person. I know Valerie, or I know John, or whatever from 702. Okay, that sort of helps me click into who we are and what we're doing. All right. Okay, everybody. Enjoy the weekend, and welcome back. It is good to have you here. Looking forward to the semester. Okay. Watch for that week 1 quiz so you demonstrate that you're participating in class. And we will see you on Blackboard. God bless. Bye-bye.